Hi, Shane here. You're watching Sam for God, and this is Mark. Check her out.
So hi guys, how are you doing? Today, as you're watching this video, is the 29th of July 2020, and it's also my 30th birthday. 30 years ago, on the 29th of July 1990, I was born into this world. And I've learned a lot in the past 3 decades of my life. I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't feel like I'm very old yet. I still think I can be considered young, but I've lived enough to have learned quite a few things, especially over the past decade, I want to say. In my 20s, I learned a lot. And so I thought I'd make a video talking to you about the 30 things that I've learned in the 30 years that I've lived on this planet. It's going to be quite a chilled video and probably quite long, so I would suggest maybe grabbing yourself a coffee, a tea, some water, maybe some biscuits, anything to make this whole journey with me and you right now cuter. I have written down my list of 30 things, so if I ever like look down, it's probably because I'm looking at my phone just to make sure I mention everything, you know? I wouldn't have been able to just memorize all 30 and just tell them to you off the top of my head. Anyway, so the first thing that I've learned is that your heart is an amazing organ. Things and people and situations can hurt you to extreme amounts, and at times it might feel like it will never stop hurting. But a year or two later, you'll one day just suddenly realize that you're not even thinking about that thing that hurt you anymore, and you feel fine. And it's so weird how the heart does it. It's really hard to believe that this moment will come when you're in the situation, but trust me, it does. Number two, if a friend or family member or a loved one suddenly pops into your mind, or you just start thinking about them for whatever reason, let them know. Let people know if something reminds you of them. No matter how weird you think it's going to be, or if you're just worried that they might not reply, or even if they don't actually reply, it doesn't matter. Let them know anyway. It's so important to let your loved ones know when you think of them. You never know, it could literally make their day. So put your pride aside and just do it. Also, compliment your friends. If you're really proud of something your friend has done, let that person know. Lift people up if you recognize something in your friends that maybe they haven't even seen, but you just think, oh, they're doing really well in this particular situation. I can't tell you how effective it is to just let that person know. I do it all the time. Even if it's like an acquaintance or someone that I don't know very well, if if they do something that I see and I'm like, oh, that's really good that they're doing this, I let them know. You know, they might think I'm weird, they might be like, oh, who's this random person contacting me, but they might also feel very happy and it might make their day. So it's a risk I'm willing to take. Number three, ask for help. This is one that I personally struggled with a lot and for a long time, and I'm still not fully there yet, but I've learned, especially in the past couple of years, that it's really important to let people know if you need help. And the help could be in any form or shape, whether if it's like you're just moving to a new place and you might need a few extra hands to help you move the boxes physically to the new place that you're living in, or if it's more of an emotional support thing and you're very confused about something, or you're going through a tough time and you just need some emotional support. It's good to be vulnerable, and there is no shame in asking for help. I used to be so bad at this, and like I said, I'm still not the best. So for me, a turning point was last year when my YouTube channel got hacked, and I went through a very, very dark period of time, like a few months of just feeling incredibly low and just nothing made sense anymore. I didn't feel like I had a purpose in life. Dramatic, I know, but I couldn't help how I was feeling. So one day I went on my Instagram, and I've got a list of close friends on there, maybe about 12 or 13 people, and I just made a little story and asked my friends for suggestions of how I could get myself to feel better. I was just like telling them that I've been struggling, and if they have any recommendations of things I could do to help my mental health. I asked them if they had any good news to share with me, and it was scary, I'm not gonna lie. It was easier doing it through my Instagram story and kind of just talking to all 12 or 13 of my close friends at once rather than sending people texts individually. But I was so surprised at how well my friends took it. Like from then on, a lot of my friends were kind of texting me on a regular basis to check up on me, to see how I was doing. They were sending me funny stuff, cute things, memories, just things to kind of help me take my mind off of, everything that was going on with my YouTube. And they wouldn't have known, if I hadn't sent that story, they wouldn't have known how much I was actually struggling. They would have probably just thought, it's tough for her, but not to the level that it was. And they really, really supported me because of it. I mean, they were supporting me regardless of that. They were supporting me anyway before, but after me actually asking for help, they realized the extent of it even more. And their words and everything that they were doing to help me really helped, like genuinely did help at the time. So it's important, do it. Practice it. Start with something small and then build up to bigger things. Number four, you do not have to do what society or your parents expect you to do. Stop putting pressure on yourself to be married by a certain age or to have kids by the time of 30s, or I don't know, have a house or something. Be easy on yourself. You are your own person on your own individual path, and you have your own choices to make. So if you actually don't ever want to marry or never want to settle down, that's fine. If you want to marry at the age of 18 and have a massive family, that's also fine. But it's important to recognize that the possibilities are endless and there is no one set formula that works for everyone on this earth. You have the choice to make and you can do whatever you want with your life. Number 5, and this might come as a surprise to you, but you don't have to be everyone's friend. This was a really hard one for me to learn, but it's really changed my life since I started practicing it. And funnily enough, I have my slightly older friends to thank for this, because they've always reminded me that it's okay to cut people out of your life if they're toxic or if they make you feel uncomfortable for whatever reason. They always remind me that if you don't want to be friends with someone, it's fine. You don't have to force a friendship with someone just because they want to be friends with you. If you don't agree with what someone's doing, you don't have to be friends with them just because you want everyone to love you. I think that was one of my main problems when I was younger. I wanted to be liked by everyone. I wanted to be everyone's friend, and it was exhausting. It really was. And I felt like I wasn't true to myself. There was a point actually a few years ago when one of my old colleagues came to me that I definitely did not consider a friend, but I'd always been friendly with her at work, and she thought that she was my friend. She said something to me that is only really acceptable if a friend tells you, and I remember feeling really uncomfortable by it. But then I thought about it and I was like, maybe it's not actually this person's fault. Maybe it was my own fault for allowing her to think that she's a friend of mine, because there are boundaries and you're the one who sets them. Like, if you don't want to invite someone to your birthday party, that's absolutely fine. You don't have to worry so much or stress so much or overthink as to what they're gonna think if you don't invite them. If a friend of yours does something that, you know, you just find a bit hurtful, it's okay to let them know, or like distance yourself from them if necessary. You don't have to put up with shit in your life. You don't need narcissistic, manipulative people in your life. People will take advantage of you, but you have the power to not let that happen by being extra picky with who you allow into your inner circle. Just filter the bad ones out. Think of it as a victory whenever you realize someone wasn't who you thought they were, because your life will be better without them in it, and you'll become better at recognizing this trait in others in the future as you continue through life. So it's a win-win situation, really. Number 6, do random thoughtful things for your friends and loved ones. Don't just wait for an excuse like a birthday or Christmas to give someone a gift. If you're out somewhere and you happen to spot something that reminds you of someone that you love, and if you happen to be able to afford it, get it for them. Send them that random gift. If you're out and about and you happen to spot, I don't know, a postcard that reminds you of a friend who lives abroad and you miss them, get that postcard, write in it, and just post it to them. If a co-worker is going through a hard time and you know about this and you just happen to be walking past a donut shop on your way to work, get them a donut. Take that donut to them. It's gonna make their day. People love receiving thoughtful things, and it's even better if it's unexpected and random. Number 7, you are allowed to say no. Again, this is something that I've had to work really hard on in the past few years to incorporate into my life, but ever since I have learned it, it's really genuinely made me feel so free. It makes me realize that literally you are in charge. You don't have to do anything that you don't want to. If someone asks you to do something that you just really don't want to do, or worse, you think it's going to affect your mental health negatively, it's simple. You don't have to do it. Doesn't matter if that person might get offended. Newsflash, if they're your true friend, they won't get offended and they'll actually really be understanding. One of the cutest things that I really appreciate in my friendship is that we're very honest with each other. If one of my friends randomly messages me to say if I want to go and, I don't know, see a particular film in the cinema, or if I want to hang out, I don't have to come up with random excuses or lie to them if I don't want to do it. I can just be honest and say like, no, sorry, that film's not really something I want to watch, it's not really my thing. Or like, if I just don't feel like going out that day, I'll be honest and say, sorry, I'm not really in the mood to hang out, I kind of want to be on my own today. And my friends understand this, and there's such a beauty in this honesty and freedom that you can have with your friends. And it doesn't have to just be limited to your friends either. You can be honest and do what you want with anyone. That sounded wrong. I don't mean you can do stuff with people, but you're allowed to say no to people, basically. It doesn't have to be your friends that you say no to, just anyone who asks anything of you. If you don't want to do it, just say no. Number 8, you only have one body, obviously, so just learn to love it. I've always been pretty insecure with parts of my body, and to be fair, I'm still not 100% there yet. There are still things that I don't feel fully comfortable with about my body. But one thing that one of my good friends told me a few years ago has stuck with me ever since. I was once jokingly just complaining about my legs to a friend as we were walking somewhere, because you guessed it, my legs are one of my biggest insecurities. And yeah, I was just going on about how much I hate my legs, and my friend's reply was, do they help you walk though? And it seemed like a very insignificant thing at the time, and I must have probably just like laughed it off and been like, yeah, obviously you're right, they do make me, help me walk. But I've never forgotten that moment. Like, I can fully visualize where we were when this conversation happened and everything. Since then, and as time has gone on, I've really started to appreciate my legs almost every day. Sure, they might not look perfect, but they do indeed help me walk. Every time I go for a walk or a run, I legit feel so amazed at what my legs are capable of doing. And I feel really grateful as well. I'm like, oh my god, I'm so lucky to have these legs to help me walk or run or do all these incredible things that people take for granted. Like, who cares if they don't look perfect? It's really changed my mindset, and I definitely have that friend to thank for. I'm not even sure if that friend knows of how important that one comment that she made to me was. So if you happen to be watching this, Sam, Thank you. Number 9, speaking of friends, it is important to have friends of different backgrounds and ages and races and genders. Do not limit your own growth by being only friends with people that look like you or think like you or were brought up in the exact same environment as you. I cannot stress this point enough. You will learn so much just by being friends with a variety of different people. Your whole life will become more enriched. You will learn more about the world and about yourself, and ultimately you'll probably become a more well-rounded and better person because of it. I promise you. Number 10. Call people out. Doesn't matter if it's your friend or a family member or your uncle or a YouTuber or like, I don't know, your boss or manager. If someone's doing something wrong and problematic and you recognize this, you need to let them know. You don't have to do it in a harsh way. Be gentle, but don't be afraid of letting them know. I can again remember a few occasions in the past few years when a couple of my good friends have pointed out things to me that they maybe didn't agree with or thought maybe wasn't the best thing for me to say or do. And honestly, every time this has happened and a friend has pointed this out to me, I've actually felt really grateful to them. Like, it's made me feel like, number 1, they trust me enough to tell me this. Number 2, they believe in me enough that they want me to do better, and I think that's a beautiful thing. And number 3, it's often something that I didn't really even mean or hadn't really thought about properly myself anyway, so I'm glad that somebody else like realized this or pointed it out to me so that I could kind of think about it and try and do better next time. There's a way to do this. I promise you there is a way to do this. You don't need just yes people around you. That's the most dangerous thing actually. I'm so grateful, like I said, to have friends that I know will tell me if they think something that I'm doing isn't the best thing. That's the only way to get better. If you're just surrounded by people that constantly say yes to you and just constantly praise you for whatever thing you do, how are you ever gonna grow? Like, you're just gonna stay in the same way for the rest of your life, and I think that's really sad. Number 11, have a passion. Find something that you really love and put everything into it. It can literally be anything. Just make sure you always have something that you really love and get excited about. Even if you're not necessarily good at this thing, as long as you have that thing to look forward to and to put energy into on a regular basis, that's what matters. It just needs to make you happy. Number 12, read. Read everything. I don't care if you don't have time for reading or never was into reading. Make time for it. Make it work. There are so many things in the world that you'll never learn or experience to understand if you don't read. And read broadly, not just books by straight white men, which unfortunately still happens to be the majority of the published books out there in the Western world. Challenge yourself. Read books by new authors in different genres, set in countries that you've never even visited. It's the best way to understand the world around you better, and it's a lot of fun too, actually. Also, studies show that avid readers are generally speaking more empathetic than other people. So if you want to have more empathy towards people, read. Number 13, stop chasing the idea of cool. It's a myth. I hate it when people use the word cool when they're describing people because it just doesn't exist. There's no real definition of cool when it comes to people. You should never care whether someone's cool or not, or whether you're cool enough to do something. Just focus on being a kind, good human being instead. Forget about the concept of cool. It doesn't exist. Number 14, this is quite a specific one, but basically, don't ignore homeless people. This is something that stuck with me when I read a book about a decade ago now, and the book was written by a formerly homeless person. And in the book, he said that one of the most difficult things about being homeless was that he always constantly felt invisible. And I hadn't really thought about it until I read this book 10 years ago, but since then I've really noticed it. Like, people often don't even want to make eye contact with homeless people when they're walking in the streets. They walk past homeless people as if they don't even exist. And to be honest, I realized back then that I was guilty of this myself without even realizing it. So ever since, I've made the conscious effort to acknowledge homeless people if I walk past them and if I think that is appropriate. Obviously be safe and don't just go randomly talking to all the strangers that you meet, but just judge the situation yourself, and if you think it's appropriate, make that eye contact, smile at them. You don't even have to give them anything necessarily. It's as simple as just treating them as human beings, not just parts of the pavement. Number 15, the people who are meant to stay in your life will stay in your life. So stop stressing too much about it. This is something that I haven't just learned, but it's been proven to me time and time again over the past decade. A really quick example that I can give about this is that about 6-7 years ago, I started at a new job, and there was someone who worked there, a co-worker, that I really kind of connected with and really thought was a great person. Even though I only kind of got to work with them for a couple of months, I liked them straight away, and I could tell that they enjoyed, you know, my presence as well, my company. But they ended up leaving that job, like I said, only about a month or two after I'd started. And I was really sad because I was like, oh, this is like a missed opportunity for a friendship that is probably now not going to happen because we just didn't have enough time to make it work. I remember I gave them a leaving card and like just explained to them how much I'd enjoyed working with them, even though the time was really short, and I just didn't think I'd ever see them again, you know. But weirdly, like 7 years later, they're still somehow in my life. Like, don't get me wrong, we're not close friends, but we still sometimes talk. You know, they might send me a random message sometimes out of the blue just to be like, you know, how are you doing, whatever. I've bumped into them a couple of times, once in London, once in Disneyland Paris, which was amazing. And that's just obviously one example. It's just a very random example, but it just applies to everything, you know. People, like I said, that are meant to be in your life will stay in your life. Just trust life and let it happen. Number 16, you should definitely start to learn to become comfortable with your own company. It is vital that you do. Now, I've been very lucky that I've always felt happy to do things on my own and will be on my own. I've just always felt comfortable about it, but I know that that doesn't come naturally to everyone, and some people genuinely do find that hard. And to those of you, I say take it step by step, but work on it. You are your own best friend. No one will or ever should be the source of your happiness apart from yourself. So go see that film on your own in the cinema. Go and have, I don't know, a solo meal at a restaurant that you really like. Go traveling on your own at least once in your lifetime. Even if it's just a day trip to a town near you, it'll change your life for the better, I promise. Number 17, confront your fears. You will feel so much better for it. I've done this with a few different things over the past, I don't know, 30 years of my life, I guess. I used to be terrified of heights, and I wasn't the biggest fan of just normal flying either. So 5 years ago, for my 25th birthday, I decided to do a skydive. And guess what? I really liked it, and it genuinely actually has helped with my fear of heights. It's definitely made me feel a lot more comfortable just flying anyway. Now, I'm not saying you have to do something as extreme as that, but whatever fear that you have, take it step by step to try and, you know, make it not into a thing anymore. Just get rid of that fear. It's possible to do it, and you will feel a lot better about it. You don't want to be starting and ending your life with the same fears, because how sad would that be? So work on changing it. Number 18, and this is a good one, don't feel like you need to be defined by anything. Sexuality, gender, race, you are you, an individual, and it's up to you how you want to express yourself. If you don't want to put yourself and your identity into a box, that's absolutely fine. On the contrary, if you feel more comfortable putting labels on yourself, that's also absolutely fine. Just don't stress about it. Being you is enough. Number 19, take photos and videos. Yep, I mean, obviously I was going to say that as a vlogger, but seriously, you never know how much a simple photo can mean to you in the future. Number 20, your body will appreciate healthy food. So eat well, but also don't deny yourself unhealthy food either. Have a balance and be aware of what you're putting into your body, but obviously also don't obsess over it. It's easier said than done, I know from personal experience, but it's very important nonetheless. Number 21, embrace weirdness. One of my friends used to refer to anything that she didn't understand or couldn't relate to as weird, and it used to make me pretty sad. So years ago, I actually had a conversation with her and told her that I'm the opposite, that whenever I see something that is out of the norm, I actually find it really exciting and I want to learn more about it. I told her that just by replacing the word weird with interesting, she'll end up appreciating the world and the people around her a lot more. And she definitely took it on board, and I feel like she's definitely changed a lot since that conversation. And it makes me really proud and happy. I mean, I've also obviously learned a lot from this friend, so that's what I'm talking about, helping each other grow. And yeah, like I said, embrace weirdness, embrace difference. Number 22, exercise. Yep, I know it's a boring one, but unfortunately it's actually true. Everyone says it, it's like a cliche, but it's also a fact. Doing exercise does make you feel better mentally, whether you like to admit it or not. So make sure you incorporate it into your life, even if it's just walking or doing some yoga in your house. Do it, and try and do it every day, because I promise you, your mind and your body will both appreciate it. Number 23, care about the world. Realize that saying I'm not really into politics is a privilege in itself, because that clearly means that you've never felt marginalized enough or affected enough by politics to need change. But you can do better, even if, you know, life is great for you. Realize that life is not great for a lot of people, unfortunately, and you need to care about these issues and try and do your bit at making things better. And also, don't just focus on issues that only affect you anyway. See the bigger picture, educate yourself on the important issues of the world. You don't have to become an expert, obviously, but don't go through life completely blind either. It's not a good look, trust me. Number 24, if there's something you want to do in your life and you have the means to do it right now, do it now. The time is always now. Stop wasting time, stop putting things off. You never know when another pandemic might come along and you won't be able to do anything anymore. Jokes aside, the time is always now. You will regret it otherwise. So like I said, if you can do something that you wanted and you have the means to do it, just do it right now. Number 25, give back to the world in any shape or form you can. Whether it's a charity or a specific cause that you really care about, volunteering, mentoring, helping a specific community, just do something to give back to the world that we live in. We all have a personal responsibility to this planet and the world that we live in and the people that live on this planet, so do your bit. 26, never, and I'm saying this very, very strictly, never prioritize work over friends and family and loved ones, ever. I made this mistake myself once a few years ago, and to this day it's still one of the very few regrets that I have in life. Number 27. Try new things, new experiences, new films, new holidays, new destinations, new foods, new hobbies, activities. Just expand your world. Don't stay in a tiny little bubble and live it for the rest of your life like that, because you'll be missing out. You genuinely will be missing out on all the amazing things that this world has to offer. As much as it's important to know when to say no, it's equally important to sometimes step out of your comfort zone and try something new. So just do it. Be spontaneous sometimes. It's really fun. Number 28. Don't be afraid to ask questions or to change your mind about things. I know it can sometimes be hard to swallow your pride and admit that you were wrong or what you thought of something wasn't the right thing, but it's also absolutely necessary for any sort of growth to happen. So normalize it. Normalize asking questions and admitting that you're wrong if you later, after more research and learning more about an issue, realize that your opinions have changed. It's fine. You don't have to stick to one opinion your whole life. Number 29. Realize that, contrary to what a lot of people seem to believe, intentions aren't everything. If you accidentally hurt someone, you've still hurt them at the end of the day, and it's necessary that you acknowledge this, apologize to them, and do your absolute best to make sure that they can trust you again, that they can feel safe in the knowledge that you won't do this mistake again, that you won't hurt them again. I really realized this a while ago when the way I went about something ended up, unfortunately, really hurting one of my good friends, even though my intentions had been the exact opposite. I'd acted the way I had for the sole purpose of avoiding hurting my friend, to prevent them from hurting, and yet what I'd done had still hurt them, you know, which obviously also hurt me. Like, I was really hurt to see my friend hurt because of something that I had done. Like, I had caused this hurt. Didn't matter that it wasn't my intention to cause this hurt, it was still me that caused it. So yeah, it was pretty hard for both of us because I hadn't meant to hurt her, yet she had still been hurt, and that was completely valid, and she knew that I hadn't meant to hurt her. So she knew that my intentions were right, but she still was hurt. She couldn't help feeling hurt, and that is completely understandable. It was just a very difficult and confusing time for both of us, but it made me learn a lot. I remember after that situation, I took some time out to really reflect on it and kind of try and think of what I could have done differently, because like I said, in my mind I thought I was doing the right thing. I was doing what I thought would help my friend not get hurt, and yet, you know, the exact opposite had happened. So it just confirmed to me that intentions aren't everything. You know, you can have the best intentions but still end up hurting someone, and when you do hurt someone, you have to take responsibility for it and you have to try your best to make it right for them. I'd like to think that the way my friend and I handled this situation has actually made us better friends now, but the point is, you have to take responsibility and apologize no matter what your intentions were. Most mistakes are done unintentionally anyway. I mean, I'm not a fan of cancelling someone because of mistakes, but something that I see a lot in the online world is that when a famous influencer or a YouTuber or Instagrammer or something does something problematic, loads of their fans try to defend them by saying like, oh, but they didn't mean to hurt anyone, they didn't mean to do this, they didn't mean to offend anyone. It doesn't matter if they didn't mean to do it. If something someone says or does ends up hurting someone, whether that's an individual person or a whole community of people, the hurt feelings are completely valid, and you need to apologize for causing it and try and do better next time. And the final one, Lord have mercy, I feel like I've been talking for ages, but number 30 is live and let live. Literally, this has been my motto in life for the past, like, I want to say 12 years or something. Live your life the exact way that you want to, and let others live their lives the way they want to. As long as no one's being hurt or no one's doing anything to cause harm to anyone or doing anything that's like morally wrong, you have no right or place to judge others for the way they decide to live their lives. Focus on your own life and how you want to live it, and just let others do it the way they want. It's fine. We're all different human beings and we can do whatever we want with our lives, and that is fine. There is no set criteria. Like I said, if somebody wants to do something that you think is, you know, not what you want to do with your life, that's fine. Let them do it. It's not your life. They're not affecting you. They're not affecting anyone. They're just doing things that make them happy. So let them do it, and then do stuff that makes you happy, and just live your life. Live and let live. But that is it, guys. That is the end of this video. I feel like, oh my god, my battery's flashing, but also the lighting's gone down. It's like 7:30 p.m. now. I started filming this at like, I want to say it might have been about 6:40 or something, so I've been speaking for nearly an hour. I hope you got something out of it though. I feel like, you know, I would have appreciated a video like this when I was younger, just to hear some things that someone older than me might have learned in their life. I might do a video like this when I turn 40, because I'm pretty sure I still have a lot of lessons to learn in the next, I don't know, however many years I hopefully get to live on this planet. Thank you for watching. As always, follow me on Instagram if you want to see photos of my birthday and stories and stuff, because I have a feeling my family have arranged a little surprise for me in the living room, because they've not allowed me to go in the living room at all today. So yeah, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you for all your support over the past, like, I don't know, 10 years of me doing YouTube. Can't believe I'm 30 now. I'll see you in the next video. Bye!